All right. Welcome back. Let me paint this picture for you. There was two dogs and a kitten. Let me set the scenario up. Great Dane is kind of like hunched down forward, how dogs do when they like to play. His butt's up in the air and his tail's wagging, and he's looking intently forward through the grass. And in front of him is this little kitten. Okay. Now this little kitten is like all puffed up. Its tail is super huge. Its back is arched, its hair is all like up on its, you've seen kittens like this, right? And it's kind of standing there like half sideways, half cocked, just staring at this Great Dane, locked eyes in this super tense moment. Okay. From the outside, it looks like the only animal in this scenario that's having a lot of fun would be the Great Dane. He just wants to play. He's just sitting there and his tail's wagging, and he's just doing what dogs do. The cat, you can see the tension, you can see the energy, you can see that this cat is on the verge of like exploding. Well, lo and behold, here comes another dog. Okay, a little dog walking real slow up behind this cat. And this is a true story. This little dog walks up real slow behind this cat, this little kitten who is fixated on this Great Dane. And the slower and the closer and the closer and the slower he gets, this little dog sniffs the kitten's butt. And when it does, you can imagine the kitten, shot straight into the air, freaked out, and went flying off through the yard. Now, if you've watched any kind of like, you've gone down the rabbit hole of like crazy cat videos or anything like that, you know that cats, they just seem to walk around with this level of like pent up charge in their bodies that they're just waiting to explode. I mean, when I was a kid once, I was sitting on my front porch. We had this big front porch and it was concrete, and I was just sitting on the concrete, my back up against the house, my knees kind of bent up in front of me. It was like middle of summertime, and I was just resting like that. And our cat came walking across the concrete porch, sort of like toward me, but sort of toward the house, just doing what cats do. Who the heck knows? And I wasn't trying to, but I made my foot slipped. And when it slipped forward, it went across and that cat right up just like that. And I laughed. I mean, I laughed so hard. And to this day, every time I see a cat just minding its own business, I don't know, maybe it's something twisted inside me or whatever. I got to move my foot a little bit just to see if the cat will jump. Because I mean, if you're having a bad day and the cat freaks out, yeah, it's just funny. So, what does this have to do with our podcast today? Well, we're going to talk about, we're going to go over some information and how our brains change. And the more we can understand how our brains change and what's actually taking place between our ears, it gives us hope, and it gives us, I'm hoping it gives you that courage to not lose heart when you're trying to overcome a bad habit, or you're, overcoming, an addiction or something that you're like, man, I really got to try to do better in this thing. So that's kind of what we're talking about. And I want to throw this in with you too. Paul in the book of Romans, he gets it. I mean, this is a really famous verse in the book of Romans, chapter 7, verse 15. Paul, you could just hear him saying, I do not understand what I do. For what I want to do, I do not do. But what I hate, that's what I do. And I mean, this is the Apostle Paul. He wrote, what, a third of the New Testament or something like that? I mean, he's sitting here just like you, just like me, saying, here I am again, back at this place that I swore I would never come to again. It's called a relapse, doing the thing that you swore to yourself and others that you would never do again. And here you are. Man, why do I keep doing the thing that I don't want to do? And what I want to do, I can't seem to make that happen. Right? We talked about this in one of our last episodes. Sobriety isn't the same as recovery. Sobriety is stopping the behavior, but recovery is like this ongoing process of rebuilding and building something new in our brains, something that's like stable, something that's consistent, something that lasts, almost like a whole new way of doing life, a whole new way. Well, here's how this works. The brain, in your brain, you have these things called neurons. And just imagine, right? Imagine the roots of a tree. If you ever grabbed a little tree or hooked your tractor to a tree, I mean, we have a farm here and there's something really satisfying about taking the tractor, wrapping the chain around this little tree or not. I mean, come on, what's super fun about getting the front of your tractor up in the air, trying to pull a tree out that's too big for your tractor? My wife hates it when I do that. She gets like super nervous. She's like, Charlie, stop it. So I stop because I don't want her to have all that kind of anxiety and stuff like that. Anyway, so you rip this tree out, and then you can see all these roots. They just go down into the ground, and some of them are crossed over. It's just this like beautiful network of all these like fingers and roots and stuff. That's basically what a neuron is in your brain. To the layman's term, we can kind of understand it like that. That's how I understood it. Well, this is how this works. In your neuron, there's something called an action potential. All right. And that's the electrical charge that is built up, pent up inside this neuron. Right. So picture the little kitten staring at this Great Dane, back rounded, hair puffed up, just like buzzing with energy. Okay. That's the action potential in there. Right. And it's ready to go. A synapse, right, is the little gap between where one neuron ends and where the next neuron begins. So let's imagine this. You've got this kitten that's all tense, and then you got the little dog that's coming up behind this kitten, all right? That gap, as that gap gets smaller, right, that's the synapse. Now, what happens is when this neuron fires, the electrical charge jumps from one neuron to the other, but that has to happen chemically, right? So it's like electrical, chemical, back to electrical. The chemical stuff is like you've probably heard things like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, cortisol. Those are all neurotransmitters. Those are all the chemicals that make this electrical charge go from tensed kitten, right, to puppy dog, and something goes, right? That's exactly what that's all about. Now, the way this work is this connection across the synapse doesn't happen until you make a decision, until you choose to do something. That's when it fires. So when you have things like I've had some guys ask me, and it's probably out there in Christianity too, is temptation sin? Right? We have this thought, pornographic image, boom, pops into your head. Is that sin? Some guys say yes. My personal opinion, no, it's not. I have not chosen. What do I do next, right? That's where the rubber meets the road. What do I do next? Do I choose to dwell on the thought? Action potential fires, bang, across the synapse. Or do I choose to take every thought captive, surrender unto Christ, and work through some tools and some techniques to work on reframing our brain, right? Rewiring our brain. That's what we're talking about, rewiring our brain. Um, this is really interesting about how the brain works. Neurons that fire together wire together. So, in other words, the first time might have took a lot of effort for you to make that decision, right? But the 100th time was really easy. It almost took zero effort. It almost felt like it came natural. Because the way neurons work is like this. Imagine there's a bridge across a creek, right? Or a river, and there's a cable. It's like an expansion bridge, and this bridge is hanging from the cable, right? Well, if it was just one strand, then that would not be strong enough to support the weight of this bridge, right? It's just one strand. That's not going to work. It's really weak. Now imagine if you were to have, say, a multi-strand, multi-cable that's all braided together and twisted together that's stretching across this. Well, you could hang a highway from that and run tractor trailers all day long across that bridge. No problem. That's the way the brain works. The more you choose to do the same thing repetitively over and over, well, it's making those neurons stronger and stronger and stronger. And what once was, what once took a lot of effort to do something, to make a choice, has now become a superhighway in your brain that it's like you don't even have to worry about it. You just automatically go there. And that's where a lot of guys in addiction, especially in my own story, how did I end up here again? I don't know. right? You hear that, we hear that a lot. How did I end up here again? Well, I don't know. Well, because your brain has now been trained or rewired to just respond that way. Ecclesiastes 4:12, there's a really cool verse here. It says, "A cord of three strands is not quickly broken." A lot of people kind of like in context, he's talking about like people there, right? When you're alone, it's easier to fall, but a cord of three strands, meaning more people, you're safer. But I also like to kind of think of it like, wisdom of your brain. A cord of three strands is not easily broken, which means it's a warning and it's a promise, I think, to like how our brains work and how we can change. Now, let's think about this. The psychobabble term for this is neuroplasticity. Okay. Neuroplasticity is your brain's ability to actually change, physically change. Your brain is plastic. It's not this rigid thing that's like a board, the desk behind me, or whatever, a piece of metal. It's it's plastic. It's moldable, and the way it does that is by our choices, by our decisions. Ellen White is a founder of the Seventh Day Adventist Church. She has this really interesting quote out of the book Our High Calling. Check this out. She says, "The Lord brings his children over the same ground again and again, increasing the pressure until perfect humility fills the mind and the character is transformed." Think about that, right? So let's think about Paul. He's sitting here and he's just like super frustrated. Man, I'm back to this same place again. Relapse. I swore I never would come here again, and here I am. Who's going to save me from this wretched body that I am, right? I used to feel that way so much when I was active in my addiction. Just I felt so dirty, wretched, horrible. Who can love me? Why am I back here dealing with this again? And if you resonate with that, man, you're just human. You're just human. There's nothing wrong with you, right? You're a product of something bad. A broken home, sin, abuse, bullying, molestation, trauma, right? Neglect. There's nothing wrong with you. So let's think about how do we turn this around though? Well, it's like this. When you're faced with that thought, or when you're faced with the opportunity to make a decision, it's going to take three things. It's going to take intention, it's going to take effort, and then it's going to take focus. Those three things together will produce change in your brain over time. Now, if we're sitting across the table and you could promise me I'm not going to look for porn again, or you could promise me that I'm done drinking, or you could promise me that I'm going to stop swearing, right? And I say, I accept your promise, man. I believe you. I trust you. You got this. That's right. You got this. Well, then say later on this evening, later on tonight, maybe tomorrow, during the day, or after work, before you know it, what happened? You looked at porn, you swore again, maybe you drank a little bit, maybe you yelled at your kids when you said, I need to be a better father, and here you are again, doing the thing that you just promised yesterday that you wouldn't do. Let's back up. Let's say in that moment you choose not to do that. Good for you, bro. What happened is your brain cut one strand out of that cable that is twisted and braided together to support a superhighway structure in your head. Okay? Your brain chose to snap one cable, one strand. Does that make sense? So over time, when you choose to not do the thing that you're trying to overcome, your brain's going to stop. It's going to start pruning. It's going to stop using that cable as much. And it's going to take that strand and it's going to disconnect it and it's going to reconnect it over here. You follow me? So instead of like the super highway going this way, swear, drink, watch porn, cigarettes, whatever it is, eventually it's connect, pray, trust, journal, walk, hike, gratitude, like all of these other behaviors that produce healthy dopamine, right? Over time. And before you know it, your brain has literally changed. It has literally rewired itself so that what once was easy is no longer easy. And what once was difficult, doing the right thing, is now easy. Piece of cake. Piece of cake. But it takes time. It takes time. Let me give you this idea. Test me on this. I challenge you. Try this tonight. Make a promise to yourself, to your spouse. Maybe if you're not married, text your buddy. I'm going to brush my teeth with my non dominant hand for 30 days, starting tonight. Make that promise. I'm going to brush my teeth with my non dominant hand starting tonight. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to be in bed, and then you're going to wake up tomorrow. And when you're getting ready for work and you're brushing your teeth, you're going to realize, oh, shoot, I forgot to brush my teeth with my non dominant hand. Like it's not even going to register at some point in time, right? You're going to just go on about your life. And then later on, it's going to click and say, I didn't do that, right? That's the beginning stages of change. Now, here's the thing. For change to take place, the moment you remember, I was supposed to do that. I was supposed to brush my teeth with my non-dominant hand. You need to go do it, right? Because you need to reinforce. Remember the action potential, it that charge needs to jump across the synapse, the gap. It needs to jump to the next neuron, and that doesn't happen until you make a choice, right? Till you decide to actually act, to do something. Thinking about it doesn't really get you there. So when you remember, oh, I was supposed to brush my teeth with non-dominant hand, go do it. I don't care if you just brushed your teeth, right? I don't care if you just did it. I don't care if it was like 11 o'clock at night and you just crawled in bed. If you really want this to happen and to try to play this out, get up and go brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Because in that moment, your brain is gonna like halt the brakes, turn around, bring some action potential somewhere else, and it's gonna fire across a circuit that is brand spanking new. It is one strand. It is brand spanking new. But I can promise you, over time, you do that every day, you do that twice a day, pretty soon you're going to be brushing your teeth with your non dominant hand without getting toothpaste all over your face and looking like a fool, right? You're just going to be brushing your teeth like nobody's business, and you're going to go about your day. And eventually, what will happen is you're going to have to make a conscious choice. It's going to take effort to brush your teeth with your dominant hand. Now, I'm 40 years old. I've been brushing my teeth with my right hand because I'm right handed. I don't know. When did I learn to brush my teeth? When I was three? 37 years? 36 years? Long time. Well, about a year ago, I challenged myself to try to brush my teeth with my non dominant hand. Let's see if I could do this. Well, I brush my teeth now with my left hand effortlessly, like it's no problem. Like I don't even think about I just get my toothbrush and I just start brushing my teeth like no one's room, and it's simple and it's fine. We go now. I tried a couple weeks ago to brush my teeth with my right hand. It felt awkward. Like I could still do it, but it felt awkward. And I'm like, I'm right-handed, right? This cable is like a superhighway in my head, brushing my teeth with my right hand. I'm telling you guys, it works. So I want to share this with you to give you hope. Now this is a super simple, like low consequence. Like there is no consequence for forgetting to brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. There's no consequence. But it's a powerful lesson in understanding how our brain works. And if you can start practicing to make a small change, brush my teeth with my non-dominant hand, and you can find success in that over the course of say a week or two, well now you know what's going on in your brain when you want to start changing some super high consequence things like addiction, like pornography, alcohol, drug use, abuse, right? People pleasing. Some of these things that are really damaging to you and your marriage, your children, your finances, really high consequence things. The brain, the brain changes. The brain changes whether it's low consequence, whether it's high consequence. Your brain will change, right? There's varying degrees of discomfort and pain involved with change. That's just the way life is, right? Change is uncomfortable. So I want to just give you that. Try that this week. Grab your toothbrush, non-dominant hand, and enjoy it, man. Enjoy the toothpaste. Let it smear, whatever. If your wife laughs at you, looks at you half cocked, just be like, some crazy dude on Hands Like Hyde podcast said I should try this, and so you're going for it. No problem. But I can promise you, as you gain that success and as you understand what's going on in your brain, use that confidence to say, all right, I'm ready to challenge something that's of a higher consequence now. And you know what that is. Connect with me. I'm on Instagram, hands like hide. Shoot me a message. I'd love to connect with you in return. If you want some accountability, we could talk through some of these things. I'm available. Thank you so much for joining me today. See you later.